I don't even like talking about it, really. You know, this has been fucking crazy emotional for me, and I'm emotional angry. I don't get emotional fucking, you know, emotional.
Yeah, you look, it's one of those things where you never really know how you're gonna feel. After everything we've been through, we always believed in each other and we took something from nothing. And it will continue on forever now.
Well, look, this was a baby that Lorenzo, Dana, and I, you know, took from the infancy, and it's an unbelievable thing that I can't even express.
This is truly the story of 3 fucking people, man, who really believed in this thing, and a lot of people who didn't.
Who will remain standing in the Ultimate Fighting Championship?
Welcome to the most exciting, the most provocative, the most brutal martial arts competition that there is.
The fighters walk in alone, they fight alone, and hopefully walk out on their own.
The UFC originally, you know, a bunch of television guys got together and wanted to answer the age-old question, which fighting style was the best? Would a karate guy beat a kung fu guy? Would a boxer beat a wrestler? No rules, no time limits, and it captured the imagination of people.
It was kind of the car crash that everybody wanted to watch.
Initially, it was very successful, the first few pay-per-views. At the time, they rivaled what boxing events and WWE were doing.
But the reality is that it was something that wasn't sustainable, something that was broken.
The old owner, Bob Meyerowitz, his philosophy was this: we'll go to places where there are no athletic commissions. We'll hold these events where we can't be regulated. Well, you're dealing with the government. You're only going to get away with that for so long. It really hurt them because they got pulled off cable television. That's where they made their money.
It makes no real sense that due to some distant political maneuvering, putting pressure on cable companies, they're going to cancel the coverage.
Dana and Lorenzo went to high school together. They were good buddies. I became friends with Dana through Lorenzo.
Growing up in Las Vegas, you're kind of ingrained into the boxing world. So my dad would grab me and my brother at a very young age and take us to fights.
Lorenzo and I were big boxing fans. Dana was a big boxing fan. It ran through our blood.
I was out here involved in boxing. I was training people, and one night, Frank Fertitta and I were at the Hard Rock Hotel, and there was a guy named John Lewis.
John Lewis, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada.
And Frank said, hey, that's one of those Ultimate Fighter guys.
John Lewis was the only black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Las Vegas. And we hung out with John for the rest of the night, and by the time it was over, we had set up Jiu-Jitsu lessons, and from that moment, it totally opened our minds.
We were addicted to it. We fell in love with it. And John Lewis was tight with everybody. BJ Penn, Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell, and the list goes on and on. So he would bring these guys down to train with us.
You know, we really fell in love with the sport.
We went to all the fights. We were fans, and we were passionate about the sport.
Good right kick. A moment ago is Tito Ortiz watching.
Tito Ortiz and Chuck Liddell both wanted me to manage them. So I ended up bringing those guys on, and I started negotiating with the old owner of the UFC, Bob Meyerowitz. Tito Ortiz had been really screwed over in the Frank Shamrock fight. Basically, Bob Meyerowitz went backstage the night of the fight and said, yeah, this thing didn't do as well as we thought it was gonna do. So instead of paying you 30 and 30, I'm gonna pay you 15 and 15. So in the negotiation with Bob, I was trying to get some of that money back, and Meyerowitz basically flipped out on me and said, there's no money here, you know, basically, this thing's going under, and I was like, holy shit. And I called the Fertittas up and I said, I think the UFC's in trouble. I think they're going out of business, and I think we can, and I think we should buy it.
Me and my brother Frank, we were both over at Station Casinos. He was CEO, chairman, I was president. My family had been in the business since around 1976 when my father started what is now known as kind of the locals casino market in Las Vegas.
Lorenzo and I told my father that we were going to buy the UFC. He was adamantly against it.
He was really appalled that his two sons were all of a sudden going to jump into this. And a lot of times it's just the gut, of should we do this or should we not do this?
You have to realize that my father was not only our mentor, but he was one of our great friends, and we had so much respect for him. We had never done anything in our entire lives my father didn't condone. He said, I don't want you guys to be involved with this. This is not good for the family. This is not a good thing. Please don't do this. And it's the one time that Lorenzo and I said, Dad, we're going to do this.
We saw opportunity, but it wasn't about the financial opportunity as much as it was about, being involved with building something that we loved and building a sport that we thought that everybody else should love as much as we did.
This deal was ridiculous, business-wise. It was a passion deal. The reality is nobody else would have done this deal. Bob basically said, I own nothing. I have 30 contracts, an old wooden octagon, and those 3 letters UFC. And I want $2 million for it. And long story short, a month later, we owned the UFC.
When we finally got through and we owned it, I think we all looked at each other and said, oh my gosh, what do we do now? When we bought the company, there was no guarantee. There wasn't a deal like we had in place, like, Dana, you're gonna do this or you're gonna do that. I can remember Frank asked me, like, who's gonna run this thing? I said, we're gonna have Dana run it.
Dana's super street smart, and he's not just a friend, he's like the third brother in this thing. And we knew that he viewed it the same way that we did, with the same passion. And so we wanted someone like that.
If I would have gone out and hired a Wharton MBA or a Harvard MBA, we'd be done. We'd have lost all our money and be over. It took somebody like Dana to make this thing work.
Think about this. 3 guys just bought the UFC. We didn't know anything about production. We didn't know anything about promoting fights.
We didn't have any preconceived notions on what we were supposed to do or how we were supposed to do it. We were going to craft this product in a way that we wanted to see it as a fan.
Basically, what we want to do is we want to make this the Super Bowl of mixed martial arts.
And what I tried to do was elevate the look and the style and the feel to that of a major sporting event, something that you'd see in a world championship boxing event.
It was the thing that everybody said would never happen. We saw the potential and ran with it. We love this, we have a passion for it, and we're in it for the long haul.
We had to take a leap of faith to get into it, and we were basically learning on the job as we went. But it was rough waters at the very beginning.
The key was to get this thing regulated, to get it legalized by all the different athletic commissions. And we felt that doing that, it would get the respect to get it back on cable television.
Lorenzo had been vice chairman on the Nevada State Athletic Commission, the gold standard of combat sports in the entire world.
I was able to understand, how regulators think. Allowed me to pick up the phone and call a lot of these regulators and say, hey, we've structured rules and regulations. We've addressed all the health and safety issues.
This event is sanctioned by the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board.
We're going to continue to work with state athletic commissions. We're going to work very hard to get put back on pay-per-view and cable.
Of course, the reception was positive.
Once again on pay-per-view, everyone gets a chance to dial it up.
And this is something that the fighters and the fans have fought and waited for a long time.
We felt that, we'd get it back on cable television, get it back on pay-per-view. It would be easy. Done. We were wrong.
This thing is just burning cash, and we're only doing 5 events a year. And, you know, these things are so expensive to put on with very little revenue coming back. You have to understand, I'm calling over there for money. They're across the street at Palace Station. I'm like, yeah, I need this much money. I need this much money. I need this much money to keep funding this thing.
He would call over and say, hey, you know, I need another $1 million, or I got to fund payroll, I need 500,000. And I can remember a couple times where he'd call over and Frank would get a little agitated, like, hey, you know, I'm all in on this thing and it's fun and everything, but it's starting to not be fun. Like, when is this thing going to turn?
It's like going to a craps table saying, am I going to just go there and play all night and not have a budget on what I'm going to lose? And wake up tomorrow and say, how the hell did I lose this much money?
And I can tell you the fucking night. It was late, man. We used to fucking crank in here late at night. We wouldn't go home till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, you know? And Lorenzo called me one night and he's like, Dana, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep, you know, blowing my family's money and doing this. I need you to get out there and try to sell this thing and figure out what we can get for it. You know, they're in this thing probably 44 million in that ballpark. So I get on the phone and I start making some phone calls. I call him back and I'm like, 6, 7, 8 million. It's probably what I can get. He says, okay. We hang up the phone. So I think we're done. I think we're done and it's over and fuck, man. I'm like, fuck, I believe in this thing, but we're not gonna make it.
You know, for whatever reason, sometimes no matter what you feel like the night before, how beat up you are, how tired you are, everything else, it's kind of a strange thing the way the human body and brain works. You know, you get a night's sleep and you wake up and you're like, gosh, I feel good. I'm ready to bite the ass off a bear.
So the next morning he calls me up and he goes, fuck it. Just like that. You know, and he's not a big cursing guy. He says, fuck it. Let's keep going. So we kept going, man. And then we started pitching The Ultimate Fighter.
I felt so strongly about the product. I just felt like that if we got the UFC on TV, that it would work. But nobody wanted anything to do with The Ultimate Fighter, and we weren't able to really get any traction. Not much was going on.
We were out there pitching The Ultimate Fighter to Spike TV, which was programming for men. And these guys had nothing but fucking duds. And I'll never forget it. The 2 guys that are in there, can't wait for this fucking meeting to be over because they're going to the Dodgers baseball game. Frank Lorenzo said, I'll tell you what, how about if we pay for it?
Lorenzo and I put up what we said was our last $10 million into this venture.
They like that fucking idea a lot better.
On this season of The Ultimate Fighter, 16 of the country's best unsigned mixed martial arts fighters are about to get the opportunity of a lifetime.
That's one of the things that got us interested in the business and in the sport was the lifestyle and everything. You know, training and gosh, what are these guys? How do they do it? What do they do? It's so odd, it's so different. And I thought if we could capture that emotion and that idea on film, and then obviously coupled with the fights, it's a home run.
Next time, why you gonna hold me on the mat? You didn't hurt me at all. It's a win. It's a win. It's a win. We had 5 rounds. Now we win. Later. Take your bus ticket home.
So now the idea was, okay, we just sold out all this money. Let's go try to recoup some money. We got to get some sponsors.
You know, we'd pay for the show, but we get sponsorship and advertisement and all these things. None of that ever materialized. We're like, how in the hell can't we get an advertiser or a sponsorship for the show?
Hilarious, but like we talked to Sobe and Sobe offers us like 10 grand. And I called Lorenzo. Literally, we had Sobe for like 10 grand. Lorenzo says, fuck him. We'll put UFC everywhere.
Are you ready to fight? Are you ready to fight? Let's do it.
If you go back and watch the first season, it's the only time in the history of the UFC, at least since then, you've never seen a sponsor on the octagon. But what we did is, since we still had the inventory, we just kept running the pay-per-view ad for the Randy Couture-Chuck Liddell fight, which was going to happen a week after the finale.
The Ultimate Fighting Championship presents UFC 52, Couture-Liddell 2. Live Saturday, April 16th, from the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, only on pay-per-view.
Our host hotel, the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, here in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. We are inside the Cox Pavilion, a sold-out Cox Pavilion for this, the Ultimate Fighter Grand Finale.
And it ends up Forrest Griffin versus Stephan Bonnar in the finale, which ends up being this insane fight that changes the entire face of mixed martial arts.
Tonight, for the first time in the history of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, we are live on cable TV.
Stephan Bonnar and Forrest Griffin were going at it, and people were stomping their feet in that arena.
Toe-to-toe they go, here in round number 1. Oh, good right hand by Bonnar, and another one! Forrest is dropped, good left hook! And a knee!
And it was that night, with that fight, where everyone in the audience, it was unbelievable. You could feel it in the air.
So that's the most exciting round I think I've ever seen. Ultimate Fighting Championship history tonight. Oh, and a left hand right hand by Bonnar. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the Ultimate Fighting Championship. One of the greatest moments in UFC history.
That's when Lorenzo and I and Dana all looked at each other and said, this is the moment.
I mean, this is the culmination of the Ultimate Fighter. This is what Ultimate Fighting is all about. 5 seconds. So you want to be an Ultimate Fighter? Oh, what a finish! What a finish!
It felt like a sense of relief, like we could finally actually make a toast, you know, to a little bit of success here. Like, wow, this was incredible. This is gonna work.
I swear to God, I said, it doesn't fucking matter if Spike signs us tonight or not. We made it.
The next pay-per-view we had was the next week, was Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell.
And he goes down. He's down. And Chuck Liddell is the new light heavyweight champion of the world.
It was 4x bigger than any of our previous biggest pay-per-views that we had had.
Whoa. Now that's a stare down, baby.
We actually made money, and you know, it felt like, wow, we got some momentum. People are talking about it. So it was a big step change. It was like, okay, boom, we figured this thing out.
Again, on the fight. Wow.
Oh, big one. But down goes Randy. Trying to finish up. And it is all over.
We believe that if you give the customer what they want, the fan what they want, that's how you're successful in business.
Are you ready? Let's get it on. The legend has returned. Oh, there we go. Bam. Oh.
The most important thing always were the fights. Getting the best fighters and making the best fight the best.
When you have promoters that don't want to have their fighters fight the best fighter because they're scared their fighter's gonna lose, that's why boxing is in the state that it's in. And that's where the UFC has changed the whole scene of combat sports.
Matt, I'm not impressed by your performance, and I look forward to fight you in the near future.
Relative to boxing, this is just better technology. Before Uber disrupted taxis, before the iPhone disrupted pay telephones and a regular telephone line, we came along with better technology. Mixed martial arts, the ability to use any martial arts technique that you want. We disrupted combat sports.
The new UFC!
When everybody wants to know who the boss is, who runs the UFC, who does this or that, this is the big boss right here. This is the big boss. This is the one that me and Lorenzo answer to right here. Take it from it.
Frank gave me a piece of advice when we first bought this company. He said, you be you, and you be exactly who you are, and all this shit will work out.
It's not all signing autographs and banging broads when you get out of here. It's not. It's no fun, man. It's a job, just like any other job. So the question is, do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Dana White is the only one that could have persevered through all the downturn and all the obstacles that we had. No one else could have made it happen other than Dana. He was the right choice.
Do this thing for 9 fucking years, and
That would be my
I can always do it better.
He doesn't sugarcoat things. I mean, he tells you like it is, and I think that's why people are drawn to him.
When the card's over, if it sucked, I'll be the first one to tell you it sucked. You're fighting in front of millions of people. This is your shot. This is your time to fucking go out there and do what it is you do.
He's very upfront and tells you what's on his mind.
You're fucking unbelievable, dude. You're like the real life fucking Rocky. If you didn't like that fight, you're a fucking idiot. Believe me, it was a great fight.
It's very engaging at times. Yeah, it can be a little bit controversial.
And I'm gonna say it here tonight, and I don't care who disagrees, you're wrong and I'm right.
But that's part of what made this thing tick and made this thing work.
Look where we started. Nobody cared about this sport. It wasn't allowed on television. It wasn't allowed on pay-per-view in America. And we've come this far, and we're not stopping now.
Dana has become the most successful, promoter in history ever. I'm not going to take credit for that, but me and Frank will take credit for putting him in place to do it. We saw talent, and he had it, and he made it happen.
The Fertittas never wanted recognition. They never wanted to be out in front. These two absolutely 100% backed me, believed in me, and let me fucking do what I wanted to do the way that I wanted to do it. When everybody said, you're fucking crazy, including all the top media. Sure, this is a fringe sport and they're doing okay, but they can't go much further with this guy. And let me tell you this, when you're losing 44 million, that's when everybody starts pointing the finger and starts blaming everybody, right? Never once did they say to me, maybe we got the wrong fucking guy in here, we need to get somebody else.
Counter to that, sometimes where you really see a true person and what they're about is when things go incredibly well. And that's when people start saying, hey, I'm not getting enough, or hey, I'm the guy who made this thing work. That never happened with us. It was always mutual respect is number one. It's like that yin and yang. It just kind of worked.
In this world, in business, in life, no matter how deep you get, that's when you really find out how much you truly believe and how much you truly care about something and are into it. And I mean, there's no better case for that than the UFC with the Fertitta brothers. As they're investing in this thing that nobody believes in, except for 3 people.
UFC just sold for $4 billion.
WME IMG bought the UFC for $4 billion.
This was a sports property bought in 2001 for $2 million.
To take this from an organization that was purchased for $2 million to $4 billion today is and will be one of the greatest sports business stories of all time.
When this deal got done, I was a fucking wreck. I was a complete fucking mess. Everything is good. It's all positive. There's nothing negative to be fucked up about, except for the fact that I don't work with my 2 best friends. So, that sucks. And it's gonna take a while to get over for me.
I felt like that it was time to move on for various different reasons, and I was comfortable with that.
This guy was fucking, it actually was killing me that it wasn't killing him. I called her and so I'm like, motherfucker, don't stop calling me. I gotta wean me off this shit.
We're late. I'm late for everything. Lorenzo's gonna kick me in the balls when I show up at this press conference. Look happy.
He does not look happy.
It wasn't work, it was fun. We had fun every day.
Steve Jobs is here. Came to watch Pat run this thing.
Even with the days when we'd come in here and it was bad, I'm gonna miss the calls going, you're not gonna fucking believe this one. That's what I would say to him, at least 10 times a week.
One of the things that I feel like I'm definitely gonna miss is that rush that I would get on a big pay-per-view before the main event would walk. You know, Dana would grab me and say, holy shit, it's really gonna happen right now. This is really gonna go down. And that was kind of the inner fight family of us, you know. We're fight junkies. We love it. We absolutely love it. And get amped up over it. I'm gonna miss that.
Let me tell you, this is one of the greatest gifts in life, is to be through something like this where you've, you know, been through a venture with the people that you love, the people you care about the most. I can't even express how unbelievable it is to be part of something like this. It's been an unbelievable ride.
The Fertittas are extremely humble, extremely hardworking. They treated me like the third brother, man. They are true visionaries. They are two of the most fucking amazing human beings you will ever meet. And I don't know if anybody will ever contribute more to the sport than the Fertittas did.